Imagine for a moment that every social interaction is a bit like playing a game. In game theory, we look at how people make decisions, knowing that the outcome depends not just on their own choices, but also on what others decide to do. Whether it's negotiating with a friend, choosing a seat in a cafe, or even deciding how to merge in traffic, each situation can be analyzed as a game. The interesting part is that everyone is trying to get the best possible result for themselves, but their success often depends on the strategies of the other players. This approach helps us understand and predict behaviors in everyday life, sometimes in surprising ways. Game theory finds its way into all sorts of situations, from deciding who does the dishes in a shared apartment to analyzing complex negotiations between countries. Its versatility makes it a powerful tool for understanding how people and groups make choices, especially when those choices affect each other. Researchers are fascinated by game theory because it offers a structured way to predict outcomes and explore strategies in both everyday life and global affairs. Whether it's about friendly cooperation or intense competition, game theory helps us see the hidden patterns behind decisions. That's why it continues to attract so much interest across disciplines. Imagine using a computer simulation to test out different strategies in conflicts, almost like playing a game where you can try various approaches without real-world consequences. This method allows researchers to analyze which tactics work best and why, all in a controlled digital environment. The exciting part is that these simulations often reveal unexpected results, challenging our assumptions about conflict resolution. By experimenting with countless scenarios, we gain valuable insights that could help shape smarter strategies in the future. Imagine Michelle and Jean-Claude sharing an apartment. One day, they face a tricky situation. Each must decide whether to cooperate with the other or betray him. If both choose to cooperate, things go smoothly and they both benefit. But if one betrays while the other cooperates, the betrayer gets a better deal while the cooperator loses out. If both betray, they end up worse off than if they had simply worked together. This scenario illustrates the famous prisoner's dilemma, where the outcome depends entirely on the choices each person makes. The iterated prisoner's dilemma is a fascinating twist on the classic game theory scenario. Unlike the single-round version, here, players face each other multiple times, and each decision can influence future outcomes. This repetition means that strategies become much more complex, as participants must consider not only immediate gains, but also the long-term consequences of their actions. Trust, retaliation, and cooperation can all play a role, making the game a rich field for studying human behavior and decision-making. It's this ongoing interaction that turns a simple dilemma into a challenging and dynamic puzzle. In 1980, Robert Axelrod organized a unique tournament that brought together 14 computer strategies to compete against each other. The goal was to find out which approach would be most effective in a game scenario known as the prisoner's dilemma. Each strategy was programmed to make decisions based on previous interactions, creating a dynamic and unpredictable competition. This event not only showcased the creativity of participants, but also provided valuable insights into cooperation and competition among intelligent agents. During the tournament, several standout strategies caught everyone's attention. The rancunier player was known for holding grudges, making moves based on past interactions rather than pure logic. Then there was Jos, who earned the nickname the occasional cheater for his unpredictable rule-bending tactics, always keeping opponents on their toes. Finally, Nugger, the intellectual mathematician, approached the game with calculated precision, using probability and statistics to guide every decision. Each style brought a unique flavor to the competition, making the matches both unpredictable and entertaining. Imagine if you could come up with a strategy so clever, it would outsmart every other approach out there. Sounds like a dream, right? But before you start plotting your world domination plans, let's take a moment to think about where strategies really matter. For example, in cyberspace, where hackers are always on the lookout for the next big loophole. Because let's be honest, the only thing more unpredictable than your opponent's moves is what's lurking on the internet. Let's take a quick detour into the world of cybersecurity. NordVPN is a well-known provider that offers a range of tools to help protect users from digital threats like hackers and data leaks. Their services include secure VPN connections, password managers, and threat protection features that block malicious websites. Interestingly, The strategies behind these tools often relate to game theory, where both attackers and defenders try to outsmart each other in a digital chess match. By using NordVPN solutions, users can strengthen their position and make it much harder for cybercriminals to gain the upper hand. Now, let's get back to the tournament and reveal the winner. The strategy that came out on top is called Tit For Tat, or TFT. It starts by cooperating and then simply mirrors whatever the opponent does in the previous round. This approach turns out to be surprisingly effective, balancing kindness with a bit of caution. By responding in kind, TFT encourages cooperation but isn't afraid to retaliate if necessary, making it a smart and friendly strategy in the game. Tit for tat is a remarkably simple strategy. It starts by cooperating, then mimics the opponent's previous move. When tested against a variety of strategies, it doesn't always come out on top in direct confrontations. In fact, it rarely wins a duel outright. However, its strength lies in its resilience. Tit for tat consistently avoids being exploited and manages to maintain stable results, making it one of the most robust approaches in repeated games. The selfish player syndrome, often called the KDA player in gaming, refers to someone who focuses solely on maximizing their own stats, like kills, deaths, and assists, rather than helping the team win. In game theory, this behavior is a classic example of how prioritizing individual gain can actually harm the group's chances of success. When everyone acts in their own interest, coordination breaks down and the team loses its strategic advantage. This principle isn't just limited to games, it shows up in real life too, where cooperation often leads to better outcomes than selfishness. So, while chasing personal achievements might feel rewarding, it can ultimately undermine collective goals. According to Axelrod, success in interactions relies on two key pillars: kindness and forgiveness. Kindness means not betraying others first, even when faced with uncertainty. This approach helps build trust and encourages positive relationships. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is about letting go of grudges and quickly pardoning mistakes. By combining these two attitudes, people can create an environment where cooperation flourishes and conflicts are resolved more easily. Let's take a look at Tit for Two Tats, a strategy that's even more forgiving than its predecessor. Instead of retaliating after just one betrayal, it waits until it's been wronged twice before responding. This approach can be surprisingly effective in situations where mistakes happen by accident, or when players are generally well-intentioned. By giving others a second chance, Tit for Two Tats encourages cooperation and can lead to more harmonious outcomes. However, its performance can vary depending on the environment, especially if opponents are consistently untrustworthy. In this second tournament, things get a bit more interesting. Over 64 different strategies are put to the test, with two distinct camps emerging: the nice guys and the faki opportunists. Each group adapts its tactics, trying to outsmart the other and claim victory. The competition becomes a dynamic battle of wits, as both sides adjust their approaches based on the moves of their opponents. This setup allows us to observe how cooperation and opportunism play out when the stakes are higher and the strategies are more diverse. Let's take a closer look at two standout strategies that have been making waves lately. First, there's Champion, known for his genuinely kind approach. He builds alliances through trust and empathy, making friends wherever he goes. On the other hand, Harrington stands out as the calculated opportunist, always analyzing situations to maximize his advantage. While Champion relies on goodwill, Harrington's strategy is all about timing and clever maneuvering. After the second tournament, Tit for Tat continues to lead the pack. However, when running a custom simulation, the results shift noticeably. This highlights just how much the context and the selection of opponents can influence outcomes. Strategies that perform well in one setting might not fare as well in another, reminding us that adaptability is key. It's a great example of how even small changes can make a big difference in competitive scenarios. In summary, there isn't a one-size-fits-all strategy that guarantees success. However, when we look at the numbers, it's clear that approaches based on kindness and forgiveness tend to outperform others. These strategies consistently rank higher and seem to foster better outcomes overall. So, while each situation may require its own unique approach, leaning towards benevolence and tolerance is often a winning choice. Let's take a look at two golden rules that can really make a difference. First, being provocable means knowing how to respond quickly when challenged, without letting things escalate unnecessarily. It's about showing you're not easily intimidated, but also keeping the situation under control. Second, being clear about your intentions helps others understand you better and prevents misunderstandings that could make you seem threatening. By applying these principles, interactions become smoother and more respectful for everyone involved. Clarity and consistency play a crucial role in our interactions, whether personal or professional. When communication is straightforward and reliable, it builds trust and makes it easier for everyone to understand expectations. Interestingly, the most effective strategies are often simple rather than complicated. Complexity can lead to confusion and mistakes, while a clear and consistent approach helps people stay aligned and motivated. Ultimately, simplicity can be a powerful asset, making interactions smoother and outcomes more predictable. Game theory isn't just for mathematicians or economists. It actually shows up in nature in some pretty surprising ways. Take vampire bats, for example. They often share food with others, knowing that the favor might be returned when they're hungry. Cleaner fish help bigger fish by removing parasites, and in exchange, they get a meal and protection. Even trees can cooperate, sharing nutrients through their roots with neighbors that might need a boost. These examples highlight how reciprocity, a key concept in game theory, helps animals and plants thrive together. When we look at how theory applies to real-life situations, some important limitations come up. For example, power dynamics are often uneven, which can make interactions unpredictable or even lead to sudden breaks in communication. Real-world scenarios are rarely as simple as models suggest, with layers of complexity that theories sometimes struggle to capture. These factors remind us that while theories are useful, they can't always account for the messy reality of human relationships and social contexts. The concept of noise refers to errors in perception or judgment that can lead to serious misunderstandings. In some cases, these mistakes have dramatic consequences, especially when decisions are made under pressure. A striking example occurred in 1983, when a Soviet officer almost launched a nuclear attack due to a false alarm. Fortunately, he realized the error in time, preventing a global catastrophe. This incident shows how crucial it is to recognize and manage perceptual errors, as even small mistakes can have huge impacts. Noise in communication can have surprising consequences on strategies. Even a small misunderstanding or a poorly chosen word can trigger a chain reaction, leading to betrayals and unnecessary conflicts. When information is distorted, trust between parties can quickly erode, making cooperation much harder. This phenomenon shows how important clear communication is, especially when stakes are high. By paying attention to how we convey messages, we can avoid many pitfalls and keep relationships on track. In the end, communication, kindness, and forgiveness play a crucial role in shaping our relationships and interactions. These values help us build trust, resolve conflicts, and create a more harmonious environment. When we understand each other better, we can make choices that benefit everyone involved. Exploring the subtleties of game theory reveals how these principles influence our decisions and outcomes. There's so much more to discover about how our actions and attitudes impact the dynamics between people.